writing, podcasting, doing some video stuff like that, interviews, all that good stuff. So interviewing and all these are fun interviews. I mean,
Right.
so these are more laid back. These are fun interviews. I mean,
Right.
so all that good stuff. These are more laid back. These are fun interviews. But yeah, man.
Right.
So,
Be live.
interviews. Good day. Yeah.
Give people a couple minutes to join.
Yeah, I think we're about to get rolling here. Hey, chat, before we begin, let us know if the audio is working. I see a few of you already in the chat. Just let us know if you can hear me. Doing a little troubleshooting today before we get rolling.
Same here.
Yeah, there we go. Oh, Jacko Lightning, just no hesitation. We'll get there. If you can hear me loud and clear. All right, let's get into it.
Beautiful. Cool.
Yeah, all right, guys, welcome back to the Hunter Association live streams. We are here breaking down all of our 9 pro hunters from the inaugural Hunter Association's exams. I am David Thompson, back and better than ever with my guy, August. What's up, brother? One of our 9 fantastic, inaugural, deserving pro hunters. What's going on? How's life been as a pro hunter? How's it going?
So far, so good. Can't complain. Glad to be here and talking with you today.
Yeah, man. I was just kind of hop in here and I'm wondering, a question I feel like I haven't been asking enough is, what's your origin story with all of this? How did you find out about it? How did you get any kind of inkling that you want to do this? And what's your physical fitness regimen outside of being a pro hunter leading into this event?
Sure. Probably like most of us, very into anime. Hunter x Hunter was one of my first animes when I really got into it, which really was late in life. It was in college that I found anime and became a weeb myself. I came across this on Instagram, actually. It was just an ad that happened to pop up. And it was one of those things where I set some goals for myself this year. And I just knew that something like this, just a challenge, physical challenge especially, was one that if I could do it, I was going to. I had no clue what my schedule looked like in March, but I was like, you know what, I'm going to sign up. And then if I'm available that weekend, I'm going to go for it. Because if I didn't, I would be bummed. And it just happened to work out that I was available and ready to go. So I decided to do it. But that kind of goes to the fitness and the things I do outside in my real life to prepare. I'm still playing soccer. I would say I play. A lot of the guys I play with are very good. I play at a semi-pro level. I play with guys who used to be pro or are trying to currently go pro. So I get to play amongst a lot of very good players from day to day. I'm just a guy who's going to keep playing until my knees give out.
Yeah.
But to be able to play with those guys is a privilege. So I have to stay fit if I want to continue to play with them. And that's a big part of my weekly regimen. We train multiple times a week. We have games most weekends. And then we're going into the summer season. We'll train almost every day and have games once or twice a week. Or are trying to so that's go pro. The big thing that I do. So I get to play amongst a lot of very good players from day to day. Center back just myself.
Okay.
Very few touches. Give it to the people who are going to go create the goals.
Did that help at all with the capture the flag phase?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the big things with the capture the flag phase, and even in phase 1, in a 90-minute game, you have to be prepared to run God knows how many miles, depends on the game and the level. But that was one of the things in phase 1 I was even prepared for. I didn't know how much I was going to run, but you just have to be ready to run whatever's thrown at you. So that was good. For phase 2 with the capture the flag, that was more really in my mind strategy. That was one where I wanted to be in and out as fast as possible, avoid the chaos. Let everyone else, if they wanted to go be flashy and go crazy, let them do them. And for me, get a flag, get out. And that's what I was able to do. I was in heat 3. So now heat 2 was the crazy heat. Me and another person who I had run a portion of the first phase with, we teamed up just so we wouldn't get targeted. And I snagged a flag within the first 10 seconds and got to a safe zone. I just kind of parked myself around there so I could do that.
And you teamed up with someone from phase 1, but did you come to the event with anyone initially?
No, no. So I came down on my own. I'm from the Philly area. So I actually
Okay.
woke up at 3 a.m., took a trip down, got here around 7,
Oh gosh.
and was there on my own. And then, as you know, we were there until 7 p.m. So that was a long day, to say the least.
And outside of soccer, have you done like marathons or any kind of like long distance physical fitness challenges or anything?
No, ironically, in games, like I would say as a center back or even in college, a little bit at the center mid, I would run, let's call it 8 miles a game, but a lot of
Yeah.
that's very slow. There's a lot of sprints, but the rest of it is, slow jog, reading the game, seeing what's going on in front of you. The very first 5K I ran was in the fall. It was just for a fundraiser. I decided to sign up and do it. And so that was one of my goals this year is to go out and sign up for 3 5Ks. So I told myself this would be one. I'd count this as two 5Ks
Yeah.
crossed off the list.
Yeah. A question I haven't asked anyone yet is how did you feel during all the downtime? Because there really was a lot. We had some long breaks. We were dealing with a lot of different elements when it comes to fairness, the kind of like cheating back and forth and all that, just kind of figure everything out, or just like, the sequence of events. How'd that go for you? Like, did you ever feel like, oh, I'm losing steam? You got up at 3 a.m. Was that a big factor? And obviously you made it all the way through, but was there ever any kind of like mentality happening that you had to kind of shift into and change?
I think that's a strong suit for myself is kind of a mental toughness. Um, I mean, to go deeper into this, the reason why I wasn't sure if I was going to be available this weekend is we have a lot of tournaments going on. So we're currently in the National Amateur Cup tournament. We just won the quarterfinals last night. Earlier that month, we were
Cool.
in 2 other tournaments that we're playing. So on Friday night, we actually had a game. So the Friday before this, we had a game from 8 to 10 p.m. So then we wrapped
That
up.
you
Did our
played in.
that I played 70 of the 90 minutes in. Now
Oh
we
my
handled
gosh.
we handled them, so I got subbed off, which was great. But as a center
Nice.
back, we typically play the whole game. But I didn't get home until 11. Wasn't in bed until around 12. So I had
Oh
about
my
a 3 hour nap
goodness.
before I drove down and hammered that 8 mile at 8:30 a.m.
Talk
So
about mental strength. That's insane.
it was one of
Wow.
those things where I'm like, I'm coming down for the hunter exam. Like you see in the anime, there's a lot of people who have to do it once or twice. I told myself if I didn't go to the first inaugural hunter exam, I would be kicking myself, especially if it turned out to be as cool as it was. And it did turn out to be so cool. I told my fiance, who the only reason she was awake and helped me wake up the next day is because she works night shift as a nurse. So
Oh,
shout out
perfect.
Courtney.
Yeah.
But I told her, I said, listen, if I drive down here and it just looks like a mess, I'm going to do the run so I can cross off my 5Ks and I'll drive home. Because I didn't have anything else going on that day. We'll give it a go. And just, I mean, the amount of people I spoke to and was able to look at and eavesdrop in other conversations, it convinced me that I should stay. And I'm glad I did.
Wow, that's so crazy. Made it all the way through as well. Since like it's been about a month now since the event happened, and obviously like we've been releasing all sorts of social media clips, the full segment phases on YouTube, and all sorts of things. Like, how have you have you gone back and watched any of it? Like, what's your experience been? Kind of maybe taking it in from a different angle from those that we had a lot of people actually watching the day of, which was really neat from our perspective. Like, what's your experience been just kind of in the aftermath of all of this?
Yeah, I honestly, I'm looking forward to even more that comes out because I want to see even more clips. Listen to you guys talk about it. It was super exciting. What was really interesting, I'm sure, like from your standpoint, must have been chaos. But as someone who was in the events, when the change rules happened and things were shifting and changing as the day went on,
Yeah.
that was almost what I expected. During the 8 mile, definitely wasn't poor planning, but I didn't wear headphones because they said the pipe cleaner halfway through. I just figured there was going to be some kind of hint or something else dropped, which is going to be a key later in the event. And then in the assassin phase, same thing. I was like, okay, do I need to memorize numbers? Do I need to know the numbers that I stole? There was all these little aspects that, in a real hunter exam, when you look at the anime especially, it's like, all right, if you're not paying attention, you're going to be at a detriment in future rounds. So that was something where every little change, every little snag that, on the surface looked like a snag, I thought was just, another piece of flavor for the event as a whole. So I was enjoying it. When the things changed, I was like, great, how's my strategy going to change?
Mm-hmm.
When people seemingly were upset with different ways other people were going about the events, I was more like, okay, well, how's that going to change what I'm going to do? So for example, in phase one, I watched a ton of people cut corners. And in my
Yeah.
head, I was like, well, I'm
So
not
did
going to look
we.
at myself. Yeah, yeah, 100%. But I looked at myself as like, you know what? If for whatever reason I don't finish this event in the first, in the top 40%, and those people beat me out, so be it. I wasn't prepared enough. But on the flip side, I was like, great. Who are they? What are they wearing? They're just an easy target for the next rounds. And frankly,
Right.
there was three people who cut corners in front of me multiple times. And when I was in Heat 3, it was because I was waiting for them to join the Heat. Now they ended up missing Heat 3. Um, but they would have been people who I would just target it, and I would have felt great about getting them out. Right? It was also one of those things where, it all comes back. Karma comes back to bite you. And I saw some other people trying to cheat in the second round as well. And frankly, my first thought is, okay, that's how you're handling it. That's their strategy. And then I watched them get out in the third round. So
How'd they try to cheat in phase 2?
I don't know if many people saw this, but there was a gentleman who was not happy with what happened in Heat 2. Now, obviously, Heat 2 was one of the crazy heats. I mean, I
Yes.
watched him get he stole a flag, ran into one of the zones, but while he was doing that, still with the flag in his hand, first of all, so there was one rule being broken. His flag on his belt fell off. So he entered the safe zone with seemingly two flags, but he didn't have his own flag, and someone snagged it up, ran to another safe zone, and got out. So when he got to the safe zone, one of the rules was if you come in the safe zone to be safe and you don't have all the points you need to have, all right, you're out. There's no second chances. You're done. So he was very upset because no one really stole it from him, fell off. And
Yeah.
then I watched him try to chase that guy down after he had already gotten out in another zone. So that wasn't good because this was outside of the borders. But then he was going around offering to pay people to take their flags who hadn't gone yet. And I didn't hear the prices he was throwing around.
Oh my gosh, you're kidding.
So I was like, listen, if you're willing to throw around money and guys are going, well, I'm not going to make it out of this phase anyway, good for you. Now, I don't know how he made it through, but he did do the ninja course in the third round. So he made it through one way or the other.
Wow,
He
really?
failed the ninja course epically. So it all comes around. And I don't even know if it got under 2 minutes, to be honest. But I think that was
yeah, that's rough. You said you got 38 seconds. And that's so funny because one thing I asked you the question about, the experience of seeing some of the clips online. By the way, I think someone had asked where you can watch. It's on YouTube, Hunter Association. Go check it out. That guy he was doing a lot of egregiousness out there. That's what it sounds like for sure. But it seems like online, what I've noticed are so many people being like, oh, cheating's allowed because in Hunter x Hunter, like you can cheat on it and you can cheat in the exams. And that's kind of a way of it. And like, to be honest, we did mention that, like Malcolm specifically, one of my partners commentating, like he really hammered that home when we were watching it happening live, where it's like everyone else, we don't know how hard these rules are going to be, kind of like hammered home and like come down with like, an iron fist. We don't have like, we're just watching everything play out. We don't have like the New York officiating crew back at home watching all this like, oh, right. It's in replay. No, we're just, reacting. And it's so funny just to hear all the different stories that come out because quite frankly, we had a great crew, great production team. We had drones in the air. We had so many awesome volunteers.
Incredible.
But we also didn't know what was going on with a lot of the time. Like it's also like you just said, I had no idea that was happening. Some other people probably did, but like it was easy to kind of like slip through the cracks. One question I had for you, I haven't asked anyone this yet. What was like your diet and hydration like the day of the exam?
Yeah, I mean, coming from being prepared to play like a 90-minute game, 120-minute game, a lot of times on the day of a game, I'm not eating a ton. It's very, if anything, a light breakfast in the morning, and then depending on the time of the game in the afternoon, maybe a light lunch. It's really like the day or two before that dictates a lot. So I knew that I was doing this, and I had a game on Friday, so I was eating a ton on Wednesday and Thursday. Friday, I was trying to eat light, but also have, enough carbs in my system, so I didn't, just fade away on Saturday. But on the day itself, especially because we didn't know exactly what was coming up, after phase 1, I really didn't eat much. I had like a tangerine, and then we did the assassin phase, and I got in and out of that pretty quickly. So all I packed was 2 PB&Js, about 6 little tangerines and a ton of water.
Yeah.
So I had probably, I don't know, 2 or 3 liters of water, and then like a body armor, not sponsored, but It worked, and that was that. I hammered Chick-fil-A on my way home. That was
I was gonna ask what about after? What was the celebratory meal? Yeah.
oh yeah.
I think one major through line that I've noticed in conducting these interviews that we've been doing over the last month is that every single pro hunter at this point, it may not always, like, I think you seem very tactical. You were like kind of marking guys, like, strategy and maybe even like a little like revenge or just like weakness targeting. It feels like overall though, everyone's had a calm about them. Every single pro hunter that I've spoken to, and just that I think we've spoken to, there's been some kind of like mental calm and clarity about it that I think some people might have been missing, where maybe getting too revved up didn't help others. I'm so excited for the future events. I know someone was asking at the very beginning of the stream, like when the next one is. Roughly later this year, we hope, fingers crossed. What do you, August, now as a pro hunter, like, do you expect to show back up to the next one if and when there is one this year? And kind of like, what's it been like also just chatting with other pro hunters now that you guys are the inaugural class?
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome to talk to all those guys. We do talk on the outside, just to talk to your mindset piece though, just because it is interesting. I think a lot of people too wanted to see more geared towards the mental, but I think and even in phase 4, a lot of people joked, were like, well, this is the first time they're forcing us to use our mind. If you don't think running 8 miles on a cross country course where you really don't know, what the next turn is going to be isn't mental, I think you're crazy. When you're running into a group of 70 people and you don't know what that person's thinking, whether he wants to lower his shoulder, he or she, or whether they're teaming up with another person, like that is very mental. Same thing, even with the Ninja Warrior course, although it's not a lot mental, for the people who weren't using the mental, a lot of people went and made the same mistake over and over and over again. Ace, who already did his interview, I didn't know he was a Ninja Warrior at the time, but I watched him do 2 things that nobody else did. And he like jogged through the Ninja Warrior course at 30 seconds. And I was like, okay, those are 2 things I'm going to do. And I put myself towards the back of the group and was watching every person make the same mistake and the same mistake. And that was just something where, you didn't have to use your mind. You could just, give it a free go and wish yourself luck. But for those who did use their minds, like I'm not a Ninja Warrior. I've never done a course like that ever in my life.
Yeah.
But, I ended up just taking my time, did those 2 little things that he did, and got a fantastic time. So I love that aspect, just for all those people who are like, oh, you got to strengthen your mind.
Oh, I think we might have lost August. Oh, we came back. Here we go.
Okay, good. I can see everybody. But to your point,
yeah,
or to your other question, will I come back? I would love to.
Yeah.
Especially around our area, I would love to be involved in planning and everything with the guys who are running it have been doing a great job and been communicating with us a ton. Even with the Hunter website, it's been very cool to talk to them and see what kind of updates they're going to make. Even with the guilds, it seems to be an interesting addition and potentially some changes on the horizon there. It's something that I think could be a really cool aspect. So yeah, looking forward to all the future changes and events and exams.
Yeah, I think, since the beginning of just the idea, there's really this just concept to the day of, and working through the tickets and the wristbands and the phases and on my side, the production and the stream, like there's so much that hopefully I'll be back for with the exam number 2, because there's so much, I think all of us, including everyone that participated, excluding the 9 of you that actually won, want to come back and know that we can all improve upon, and that it can get bigger and badder and better. And like, what's cool about your position now is that, the examiners, our initial 2, and just in general, the entire Hunter Association team, like the idea is that you guys now will mean something and can be a part of that process, which I think is one of the best aspects of what this group can be. We're already like just kind of daydreaming about, we're 5 in, 6 in, maybe throw out an all-star game, an all-star exam. Like that just sounds like so cool. I'm already like so pumped about that. Ace is in the chat, one of our pro hunters. One question that David had in here was, what do you do to strengthen your mind? Which is kind of a deep question. I don't know if you have an answer to that. And obviously you seem like a pretty You seem like a pretty diligent guy. You stick to your routine. You have your soccer that kind of keeps you like in line. I actually have a buddy in Florida that plays semi-pro soccer and played in high school, college, semi-pro, and it kind of sounds similar. I actually told him to come to the next hunt. I texted him, you should come out to the next hunter exam, and he goes, I'll probably have soccer that weekend. And I said, dude, figure it out. Skip soccer. This means something to me. You should come out, man. So yeah. If you have an answer to that, what do you do to strengthen your mind?
I think a lot of it comes down to kind of your everyday life. People want what do I need to do for this exam? I think the bigger ask is like, what are you doing in your life? Like you said, I played soccer all my life. I've continued to keep that fitness up. Another one of my, I talked about, I set some goals this year, just some fun ones. So like New Year's, I said, not one goal. It's like, what are 25 things I want to do by the end of the year? And one of them, some people will know this, is like the 1,000-pound club. I'm a soccer player. I was very skinny in high school, but like all the football players did that. And it's your bench press, your deadlift, and your squat. I've been going to the gym for a long time. I ended up hitting that 1,000-pound club in February. And it was never something I was, really looking for, but that was just like, great, this is an achievement I'm going to shoot for. And I've set a goal for it. I've written it down, and I'm going to go and do it. I think we can do that every day, whether it's I'm going to run a 5K, I'm going to show up to the hunter exam and compete, or I'm going to, whether it's soccer, whether it's football, whether it's any sport, basketball, whatever you want to do. It's like, all right, do you have the mental toughness to play a full game? Do you have the mental toughness when you're down to continue to battle, or do you just give up? Not just give up on the game, but give up on yourself. Are you running? I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to run a mile every day for a week. Are you doing that? Or, well, I ran for 5 minutes. That's enough. I'll go do something else. It's easier for me to do the bicep curls and look at myself in the mirror. There's a lot of little things you can do day to day where it has nothing to do with the exam. But if you can continue to push through and you set goals and you don't cheat yourself, that's how you keep breaking through, little mental barriers. So then you come to something like the exam and it ends up being easy. I think to your point, like you said, everyone had a little bit of a calm, even in the last 18, let alone the 9 that became hunters. They're all guys who had the confidence in themselves, to compete and to be there. Like they earned it. And I think a lot of that was shown in the final rounds, but you could probably see throughout. Even like we kept talking, I watched the other interviews too, and like phase 2, the chaos and the drama. I think most of the people who were in phase 2 and ended up being pro hunters got out very early. I think very few of us stayed the whole time or had this crazy battle story. It was in and out. We had a plan, executed it, and went and eat a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and waited for the victory,
Right.
So, little things like that.
You mentioned being down and the mental fortitude to keep pushing and keep fighting. Was there ever a moment in the hunter exam where you felt like you were behind, down, and you kind of had that moment of like, uh-oh, I'm moments away from being out and I need to push forward here?
Honestly, I think my worst performance was in phase 4, but I was in that villager group. So I think part of it was because people didn't know how to play the game.
Yeah.
So I was just glad I said my piece, even though I ended up getting voted out. I didn't get killed. I said my piece, which I hope helped in the end. But I think really in the other pieces, it was probably phase 5. Came up against very good competition. His name's Tommy. Some of you guys will know him as his Instagram name, but I would love to see him back in another hunter exam. He will be a pro hunter if he wants it.
Yeah.
But he was a guy where it's like pound for pounds. I knew he was bigger than me, knew nothing about his minds, but it just came down to, not sweating the details. Ironically, on the little note cards, right, that we had in the final round, it was who do you least want to go against, who do you most want to go against, and then how many people will vote for you. I figured I'd be mid-table, so I put 0. He was standing right next to me. There was at least 5 or 6 guys bigger than him and myself, clearly, whether it's shirts off or shirts on. And then, then there was clearly 5 or 6 guys weaker than us, but I had talked to him for, the 5 minutes while we were waiting for one of the gentlemen to come out of the bathroom, right? And just in talking to him, I was like, I don't know if I really want to go up against him. So he was who I put down as the one person I don't want to go against. And I don't know if anyone else voted for him. And I don't know if anyone else voted for me, but then I ended up going up against him. So that was one of the ones where immediately it was just like, rather than going, oh my gosh, I have to face the one guy who I said I'd rather not go against, not because he was the biggest or the smallest, just because his mindset was strong. I just said, great. I laughed and moved forwards and tried to think of a kind of the plan to move through. But other than that, there were really no times where, I was sweating the details.
So break down phase 5 for me. Obviously, that was the most. You mentioned there's a lot of chaos throughout the day. There's a lot to explain and then re-explain after Matt would explain to you guys on the field, and then I would explain to the chat. And shout out anyone, by the way, who's listening right now that was there on the day of. I feel like we had a fun little connection going on. And in phase 5, I think everything kind of settled down a little bit. From a production standpoint, it was real simple. We had these one-on-one competitions. There wasn't going to be simultaneous things happening at once, and we were trying to do a great job of balancing everything out. But in this moment, we didn't really need balance. We just needed detail on these 1v1 matchups. So break that down for me. Obviously, you had Tug of War first. How did that go? What was your strategy, and how were you able to prevail?
Yeah, absolutely. So it was very suspenseful because, like I said, I probably ended up being middle of the pack, but that just meant, when they announced it, it was the person with the most votes for, most want to go against and then least go against. And then it went further and further in until there was probably a lot of us who just had 0 votes.
Yeah.
And so I think I was the second to last group that ended up going. However, I carried a book bag the entire day, except for the Ninja Warrior course and the Tug of War. That's the only time I took off that book bag. And that was also because I was by myself. I had my phone and my keys in there. But I also brought a pair of cleats. And I didn't take them out the entire day until Tug of War, where I said, I will actually use these. This will be great. Oh. And then I watched Wing C go up there and had to take them off. And I was like, I had them tied, double knotted. I was like, great. So not only did I actually didn't know who I was paired with at this point. So I was like, okay, great. I got to take the cleats off. So I am taking my cleats off. I'm tying my tennis shoes. And then they announced my number. And it's the one guy who I had voted that I wouldn't want to go against. I was like, the irony. Here we are. So then I walk up. So his name, I don't know how to spell. I see some people in the chat asking, is Ashman. He swings the Dragon Slayer sword.
Yeah, the sword
guy. Familiar. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And he had run the 8 Mile in sandals. I think he did everything in sandals all day.
Yeah, we spoke to him at the event. Incredible. He was dialed. I thought he was going to win. And we'll talk about the second step after this. But yeah, you guys had such a great competition.
Yeah, and he was a great competitor. So because of the cleats and everything, they said, well, do you want to keep your shoes on or take them off? And I looked at him in bare feet. And I was like, I'll take any grip I can get. So I took my shoes off. And, in the moment you're going, okay, who am I going up against? Excuse me. What do I need to do to win? And I kind of had a strategy in my mind, not to diss the cross-country runners, but I was like, all right, pound for pound, am I going to pull you or not? And there was a couple guys who were definitely long-distance runners, smaller than me. So I was like, my strategy is just to tug until I can't tug anymore. And then for the guys bigger than me, my strategy was I want them to try to pull out of their shoes, but then while they do that, I'm just going to release the rope. So what I did when they set it up is I pulled the rope taut, waited for them to say go, and then as soon as it said go and you get that first big push, I just let go. So I had it held with 2 hands. I let go of my front hands. He dropped to the ground, and then I started pulling, and I just dragged him across the line. So I know a lot of guys are saying big brain, but at the end of the day, it was either I do that strategy or I lose, right? It was one or the other. So
no, it was brilliant. And what's so funny is in the booth, if you want to call it that, our little commentary booth, shout out. What a great spot. It was funny because we were breaking it down beforehand. I was like, hey, have you guys watched Squid Game? And have you seen Squid Game?
Well, people told me all about it afterwards. So I was like, well, there you go.
You did it. Yeah, because that's the thing. It was all about momentum. It's all about the shifting of weight. And yeah, that was so great to see because that's like a perfect example of that being actually utilized where it does make a difference depending on who you are. That would have been really funny if you were the first person to come out in cleats and that had happened to you because that was such an interesting dynamic. We actually, with Wing C, I don't even know if people have seen this for phase 5 yet. I don't think they have, where like we were actively talking about we got a great camera angle of him like lacing them up and we're like, oh, okay, here we go. The cleats are out. And so it was kind of like dramatic irony. We saw it. but Matt hadn't seen it. Like,
Right.
and then everyone's like, oh, wait, the cleats. But like the chat, the commentators were like, he's got cleats on and this is going to be a big deal. And it worked. And yeah, it's just so funny. So you won the first one. Obviously, it was best 2 out of 3. The third one, third competition in phase 5 was a crazy 1v1 dodgeball that all of us just kept rooting for. You didn't get there. You took them out in 2. So break down the memory tiles. This was the best, bar none, memory tile competition we got all day. You both did so well. So break down for us how that went and how you were able to somehow prevail over an incredible competitor in that round.
100%. And I didn't actually go back and look, but I think I got maybe the best score in memory tiles, and he got the second best score. It just out of 18
it
guys.
Felt like that in the moment. Yeah, it was like 30 plus for each of you, I think.
Right. So I think out of 36, I got 32 and he got 30. Really, my strategy, I had confidence in my own mind. So I was like, all right, I'm not going to second guess myself. You know, if there's any patterns, you lock in the pattern. And then I was trying to count out the squares. So, you know, first row is, you know, 1 through, I think it was 36, right? So it was 1 through 6. And then it's 7 through 12. I can't do the math now, but so then I'm just going, so we were flipping over to white. So if it was white in the first section, I was just going 2, 4, 6. Mm-hmm. I was just trying to lock in the numbers that were white, and then patterns I was trying to remember. But the biggest thing that I kept watching people do is, you know, you hit a point where you know what's on the board, and then they go 5 seconds, and then people start scrambling and flipping over tiles.
Right.
And that's where I was like, that makes no sense. Because if you don't know, why would you potentially open yourself up to more errors? Because they were counting like, you know, it's out of 36. So that was the other thing. People were freaking out because they thought I had mastered it in one go. But really, after 10 seconds, I just had confidence in myself. I was like, you know what? I'm not going to make more errors, because if I'm confident with this, if I start flipping over tiles in a panic,
right,
and then end up reducing my score, that would be much more upsetting than, you know, just being confident what I could remember, you know, go from there. And so after 10 seconds, I stood up, was happy with where I was at. It was just that bottom left corner where it was 1 of 2. But if I had gotten the one wrong, that would have been -2, right? Because if I got black right, so just imagine, right? There's 2 tiles I'm second guessing, and they're black and black right now. One of them is supposed to be white. If I flip over the wrong one, I get a score of 30, and now me and him tie. And then what do we do? Because I go from 32 to 30 there, right? So that would have been nuts. So my decision not to, you know, flip a coin, I mean, maybe I would have gotten it right and got a 34 score, but that didn't do anything, right? The goal is to win, not to get the highest score. So that was my strategy.
And I think you still did.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was an incredible case. I remember it was like, ooh, like in the moment, not knowing like your name or anything, we're like, oh my gosh, this guy's confident. Like he's got this. And then when the score came out, that was crazy. Cold-blooded too, and like the all black with the baseball cap. That was crazy. Yeah, that was one where it felt like, wow, the competition really deserved to maybe win. Not that you didn't, but like this is high level stuff that we're watching right now, where it's like, man, like that's got to be painful. And I cannot wait for the next one. I can't wait to see who comes back. I feel like this is going to make it even more exciting. Obviously, beyond the cheating comments on TikTok and Instagram and stuff, the other main comments I've seen, just, you know, doom scrolling, is, oh, it's real. Like I'll be there next time. I didn't realize it was actually going to be this, you know, not televised, but, you know, streamed event that has all the cameras, and like people actually like were, by the way, incredibly physically fit. Like there was no one there really was like not meant to be there, or was just there for, you know, giggles, right? Just for funsies. Like everyone there was taking it very seriously. It really was the best of the best. And I think for next exam, that's what I'm most excited to see, is not only that new competition coming in, but someone like your opponent in phase 5, or everyone, all 9 losers in phase 5 come back, hopefully, because for 2 reasons. One, it's awesome to see them try to now reach that pinnacle of being a pro hunter. And then 2, entertainment. Like for us, it's going to be great to know more names, have more an idea, be able to kind of like build this like history and like this legacy almost of these people. And how cool is it that you get to be the first one? You're just built into the legacy at this point. You're just locked in. Yeah. Last question for you. We're actually going a little bit long. Wow, this has been a good one. And obviously we'll hopefully anyone has any other last minute questions, let me know. I haven't really been paying too much attention today. But yeah, last question for you, August. So what's next for you? You set 25 goals. I think that's probably the best piece of advice that I got out of you personally today is like set goals and do them. And don't just set one. Don't maybe put all the pressure on the one goal. What's next for you? Is it just playing soccer? Is it waiting for our heroes versus villains Hunter Association exam one day? Or is there anything else on your horizon that now it's like, man, I maybe I can expand my mind, expand my physicality, and go do a different challenge?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things, like to your point, made 25 different things I'm going to do this year, set goals, but also ones I'm going to achieve, right? Putting out there, not maybe, I'm just going to go do it. I think really at post-Hunter exam, I've been even more hungry to go and compete in other competitions, even go public about it. In the Hunter exam, phases 1 through 4, I wore a black mask as well. So there's actually a clip on Twitch somewhere. You'll see me for 4 out of the 5 phases. And I was just trying to be low key
out there.
Yeah, I was just trying to be low key at the end of the day. And it's one of those things where it's like, I'm going to do me. I'm going to be the best I can be, and kind of ignoring what other people say. As long as I'm pushing to where I want to be, that's the most important piece. So I'm going to continue to do more things along those lines. I talked to a ton of incredible people on the day. Frankly, more than, again, trying to say low key, I didn't really think I was going to talk and make friends at this competition. But it was inevitable. It was fantastic, and a ton of great people there.
Yeah.
So I think the big thing is I'm going to be. I created a public Instagram account, which people can follow me. I think I'm tagged on the Hunter Association Instagram.
Yeah.
I'll be posting more things I do. Posted about the 1,000 pound club. I saw a question in the chat. Plans for my guild. We've been talking to the founders of the Hunter Association. It seems like there's going to be some cool changes to the guild, but you guys can go and read. The formatting is a little ugly, so I apologize. But I think for those people who align with what I'm looking for, the Masters of None, for those who want to be the best of the best and kind of take those steps forward, no one's going to be perfect. No one can be, the best version, but it's more taking steps to be the best version of yourself. That's what's most important. And that's what I'm going to try to achieve moving forward to the rest of the year, is taking steps to be my best version. And I'm looking forward to it. And I'm also looking forward to seeing people at the exam and, more and more and more and more and more.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, everyone, this has been a lot of fun. August, thanks so much. It's been a pleasure talking with you. I think you've obviously had an incredible experience, a unique experience, I think, of, the 9 hunters. Each one obviously is very unique, but it's always fun to hear about, like, everyone's got a different story. And that goes for someone that got out in phase 1 or someone that is now a pro hunter. Everyone's got a different story. No one's quite the same at the Hunter exams. I will shout out as we're wrapping up here. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. This is a wonderful community. It's one that I am really happy to be a part of, especially like going in, none of us really knew what it was going to be. Those that were putting it on, the founders, the commentators, production, volunteers, and those that were competing out there, no one really knew. So thank you, everyone. It's been a pleasure to be a part of. Can't wait to do the next interview, the next announcement, the next exam, and keep building this thing up. So August, I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for talking with me today. And until next time, I'm David Thompson. Follow me on all social medias at David Thompson with 2 A's. I also have a podcast, The Direct Podcast, right, for thedirect.com. Follow MCU Direct on Twitter and all of those good things as well. Until next time.